Ladies and gentlemen, may I now have the honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Honorable Wijedasa Rajapaksa, the Minister of Justice in Sri Lanka. Dr. Wijedasa Rajapaksa, the current Minister of Justice and a Member of Parliament for Colombo District and also a President's Council, is a renowned lawyer whose intellect and eloquence have laid the foundation for an illustrious political career. He was a member of the 13th and the 14th Parliaments of Sri Lanka, and he served as a Minister of State Banking Development from 2005 to 2006. Born on 16th of March 1959, Mr. Rajapaksa hails from a family in southern Sri Lanka. He commenced his career as a banker and resigned after a period of 5 years to heed the call of his instincts and entered the legal profession, in which he rose quickly to great heights. He holds a degree of law from University of Colombo and has been practicing in the field of law since 1984. At the same time, he served as an examiner for Faculty of Law, University of Colombo from 1984 to 1991. He has indeed reached great heights in the field of law within a short span of time, and numerous awards he has won bear testimony for his remarkable contribution to the field, one of which is the award Outstanding Young Person in the Field of Legal Affairs he received in 1998. He also won the Gandhian Peace Award in 2011. He was appointed as the President's Council in 2001 at the comparatively young age of 42, and he was the youngest ever person to obtain this prestigious recognition in Sri Lanka. While engaged in legal practice, Dr. Rajapaksa has held a series of responsible public officers such as Chairman of the Rent Board of Review, Chairman of Sri Lanka Press Council, Vice President of the World Association of Press Council, Director National Film Corporation, Director Sri Lanka Rupani Corporation, Managing Director Associated Newspaper Ceylon, that is Lake House, Panel Chairman to inquire into the allegations of misconduct against attorneys at law, Chairman of Disciplinary Committee to inquire into the charges of doping against athletes. What may be the most remarkable attribute of Dr. Rajapaksa is his steadfast quest for knowledge. He earned a PhD from University of Colombo in 2014 for his thesis titled The Efficacy of the Safeguards for Functional and Constitutional Democracy under the Executive Presidency, 1978 Constitution. An enthusiastic learner, Dr. Wijedasa Rajapaksa has also been awarded a PhD by the University of California for his thesis titled A Comparative Analysis of the Concept of Buddhist Rightness with Modern Administration of Justice. Dr. Rajapaksa has become the only member of Parliament with 2 doctorates after late Dr. N.M. Pereira. He has also obtained master's and MPhil degrees from the University of Sri Jawadanapura. Dr. Wijedasa Rajapaksa's political career and record in anti-corruption activism has been equally star-studded. He first represented the Parliament in 2004 and served as the Minister of Banking Affairs and as the Minister of State Banking Development for a short period. However, he resigned from this ministerial post in April 2006 on a policy matter. Elected as the Chairman of COPE in July 2006, he presented the first report in January 2007, which led to serious controversies both locally and overseas. Since then, he was recognized as a fearless campaigner against corruption in the public sector. And the AFP news agency captioned him as a parliamentarian's main whistleblower. In 2007, he was bestowed with the prestigious award titled Sri Lanka of the Year, LMD Media Services, in recognition of his services. He was once again recognized for his outstanding professional capacity in 2013 with an Apex Award given by the Organization of Associations of Sri Lanka, dedicated to recognize top professionals in the country. In addition, Dr. Rajapaksa has also been conferred with the honorary titles Dharmaniti Visharada Shasana Vibhushana and Deshabhimani Sri Lanka Janaranjana by the Asgiriya chapter of Shamapali Nikaya and Amarpura Nikaya respectively. In 2007, he was re-elected to Parliament and he became the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka in 2012. He was appointed as a Minister of Justice in January 2015 and was entrusted with the same responsibility when he returned to the Parliament in the recent general elections. Congratulations, sir. Dr. Rajapaksa is respected as a politician whose voice is always present inside and the outside of Parliament, especially with regard to the matters pertaining to justice. Considered as a symbol of professionalism in modern Sri Lankan politics, Dr. Rajapaksa is undoubtedly the most apt person to address you at this KDU IRC 2015 themed Inculcating Professionalism for National Development. Over to you, sir.
Mr. BMUD Basnayaka, Secretary of Ministry of Defence, Air Marshal Kolita Gunatilaka, Chief of Defence Staff, Lieutenant General Krisantha De Silva, Commander of Army, Vice Admiral Ravi Vijayagunratne, Commander of the Navy, Air Marshal Gagan Bulat Singhale, Commander of Air Force, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Setyarachi, Additional Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, Major General Milinda Piris, Vice Chancellor, General Sir John Kotalawala Defence University, Brigadier Lal Gunasekara, Rector Southern Campus, Dr. Charita Gunasekara, Conference Chair, Professors, Doctors, and members of academia. First of all, I warmly extend my heartiest gratitude to the organizers of this 8th International Research Conference of General Sir John Kotalawala Defence University, scheduled to be guided with the theme of Inculcating Professionalism in National Development. I also observe the importance of this theme as timely for this country, as we are just passing a period of resurrection like a phoenix emerging from the ashes. There is no need to emphasize what a difficult period of 3 decades we passed while fighting against the horrifying terrorism, undoubtedly the world's worst and most brutal terrorist organization. It is only that now people have a sigh of relief after defeating that devastating terrorism by patriotic and extraordinarily brilliant defense forces of ours. Indeed, it is not an exaggeration to state that they displayed not only their brilliance in their respective professional performances, but also in the overall discipline of which they were fine exponents. Professionalism is not a new concept, as it goes back to the origin of human civilization. As it was preached by the Buddha in Aggajna Sutta in Digha Nikaya, when the state was formed first the society was categorized into three as rulers, the rule, and the jayakas, which means ones who are engaged in the ecclesiastical activities. They were the present day members of the clergy. When it comes to Vedic philosophy, namely Rig, Atharva, Yajur and Sama, believed to be written between 1700 to 1100 BC, there had been a classification of the society into four cadres, popularly known as fourfold Varna Dharma, which led to the categorization of the society into four, namely Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudras. Such a categorization in a bygone era could be understood in terms of the activities that they were engaged in. With the passage of time, this division resulted in the emergence of the caste system. According to Vedic philosophy, the category of Brahmins comprised those who were engaged in scriptural education and teaching, while Kshatriya comprised those who were engaged in all forms of state administration. Vaishya means the people engaged in commercial activities. Shudra meant to be both semi-skilled and unskilled workmen who were considered to be forming the lowest strata of the society. Although the said classification of human beings appeared to have been based upon human activities, yet it paved the way for the deep rooting of the caste system, which was inimical to the evolution and development of the society. Speciality or skillfulness of a person had been admired even in one of the oldest book written in Mahabharata, namely Bhagavad Gita, said to have been written during the contemporaneous period of Vedic literature, which says that, I quote, "Whenever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and whenever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory and morality," unquote. Even Ramayana highlights this moral truth, encompassing required virtues of righteousness alias Dhamma. The society that prevailed at the time of the enlightenment of Buddha reflected this caste system. It was he who unleashed the harmless revolution against that social discrimination and preached that a person becomes a noble or otherwise only by his deeds, not by his birth. Najajja vasalo hoti, najajja hoti brahmano, kammanto vasalo hoti, kammanta hoti brahmano. Although Athens and Rome were considered the cradles of civilization in the Occidental world, their human society had been classified into two broad divisions as masters and slaves, with the former having full possession of the lives of the serfs. That feudalistic system was so ingrained that slaves were considered marketable, so much so that there were fast growing cities which gained momentum purely because of the sales of slaves. It is in such a scenario that Jesus Christ went to the extent of whipping moneylenders and slave dealers in Jerusalem. History records that during the time of that great emperor Dharmasoka, who was considered the most righteous ruler in the world, there had been classification of human beings depending upon their skills and vocations they were pursuing. Mahavansa chronicles that when nun Sangamita, a daughter of Emperor Asoka, brought a sapling of the Sri Mahabodhi tree to Anuradhapura in 245 before Christ, she was accompanied by 8 types of skilled persons in their respective fields, such as farmers, sculptors, architects, irrigational experts, carpenters, blacksmiths, etc. Their advent to our country gave birth to professionalism. It is that professionalism which eventually enabled our country to be called the granary of the East. It is relevant to mention here that irrigational experts the world over pay a glowing tribute to the irrigation system we had in Polonnaruwa era, where huge canals had only 1 inch slope for every 1 mile, which is undoubtedly a great irrigational feat that astonishes us even now. Today, world still marvels at the architectural skills displayed at Sigiriya Rock and its environment built by King Kashyapa. To the eternal credit to our professional, it must be said that the Dagabas like Ruwanwalisaya, Abhayagiriya Jetavanarame in Anuradhapura, and constructional sites like Hatadage, Watadage in Polonnaruwa, to mention a few, were the outstanding constructions of theirs. They bear ample testimony to the astonishing engineering skills of those professionals. Although Polonnaruwa kingdom was the most prosperous era, the kings had to retreat to Dambadeniya due to South Indian invasions, which took place continually from Anuradhapura kingdom. As a result of such South Indian invasion into our country, the caste system which was prevalent in India got gradually inculcated into our Sinhala society. The consequences of it were the caste system taking hold of our professionalism, thereby leading the society to a primitive level. In other words, during Dambadeniya era, the caste system superseded professionalism with its attendant evils. It is noteworthy that professionalism of the highest caliber prevailed even in defense setup, even during the period of Anuradhapura. When King Elara, who invaded this country from South India, was killed in a battle by King Dutugamunu, the latter ordered that due respect should be given to the deceased King Elara, and that none should pass his tomb without paying due honors and respect. This amply demonstrates the sublime professionalism upheld even at war affairs. The prevalence of an advanced health service is proved by the fact that even some kings themselves were physicians. History records that King Buddhadasa was also a veterinary surgeon who cured a snake suffering from an ailment. There are historical instances where kings had upheld the rule of law fairly and squarely in an exemplary manner. A case in point was King Elara passing a capital sentence on his own son for negligent writing of a cart causing a death to a calf. King Parakrambahu II in Dambadeniya was a great philosopher and a prolific writer, and was bestowed with the honorary title Kalikala Sahitya Sarvajna Pandita in recognition of his profound learning. That reminds us of what Aristotle in his wisdom said centuries ago. According to him, an ideal ruler should be a happy blend of a philosopher and a king. At present, no profession is immune to the influence of the West, be it by law, medicine, science, engineering, architecture, education, defense, diplomacy, etc. Every branch or field of professionalism is now intertwined with the global setup, as globe has now shrunk into a global village. During the period prior to the World War I, many Americans living in the country were moving to cities, creating overcrowded conditions. There were a number of radical solutions for solving some of their problems, inter alia to provide food, clothing, education and health care. It was in this new progressive era a number of professions were organized in United States. Later on, they started creating standards and criteria for qualifications of its members. Professionalism is defined as the skill, good judgment, and polite behavior that is expected from a person who is trained to do a particular job well. Professionalism in its expanded version includes rectitude, competence, steadiness, thoroughness, expertise, respectability, civility, and probity, etc. In the preamble of the charter introduced by the American College of Physicians for medical professionalism in the new millennium, states that professionalism is the basis of medicine's contract with the society, and it demands placing the interest of patients above those of the physicians, setting and maintaining standards of competence and integrity, and providing expert advice to society on matters of health. Hippocrates' oath encapsulates all these virtues. The principles and responsibilities of medical professionalism must be clearly understood by both the profession and the society. The essential component of this contract is the public trust. At present, medical profession is confronted with an explosion of technology, changing market forces, problems in healthcare delivery, bioterrorism, and globalization. Above all, medical professionalism is meant for the ultimate goal of achieving patients' welfare. A lawyer, as a member of the legal profession, is a representative of clients, an officer of the legal system, and a public citizen having special responsibilities for the quality of justice. A lawyer zealously asserts the client's position under the rules of adversary system and seeks results advantageous to the client but consistent with the requirement of honest dealing with others. In the early era, individuals were supposed to plead their own case, but in the 4th century, they were permitted to seek the help of a friend who is skilled in oratory. Orators in the ancient Athens were later described as lawyers. But the rule was that they should render their service free and cannot charge any fee. Later, Emperor Claudius abolished that rule and legalized advocacy as a profession and allowed to charge fees but subject to a ceiling. Roman advocates as well as judges were trained in rhetoric, not in law. Later, advocates were recognized by law and legal system was developed in an organizational structure. Notaries appeared in the later Roman Empire, but they were not law trained. They were barely literate hacks who wrapped the simplest transaction with mountains of legal jargon. After the fall of the Western Empire, the legal profession also collapsed, but some professional canonists began to practice canon law as lifelong profession in itself. In 1231, French council mandated that lawyers should swear an oath of admission before practicing in bishop's court. In 1237, similar oath was promulgated by a papal legatee in London. By 1250, nucleus of a new legal profession had clearly formed. In 1275, a statute was enacted prescribing punishment for professional lawyers guilty of deceit. Later on, it was evolved as a noble profession, and with expansion of European colonization, legal profession had been gradually established in many parts of the world. In the field of law in our country, the influence of Dutch rule had been tremendous, in that we imbibed the principles of Roman Dutch law substantially, which had its impact upon the whole gamut of disciplines. Although it was confined to the practice in court in our early era, at present, legal professionals dominate in various fields such as commercial ventures, including companies, banks, insurers, secretaries, stockbrokers, etc. Opportunities have been partially expanded in the international commerce too. At the same time, lawyers shall uphold the professional standard and act in a fearless advocacy within the established canons of service. Recent surveys indicate deep decline of professional ethics in almost all the professions all over the world. Every professional worth calling one should rise head and shoulders above amateurism and should be an exponent of the elegant and finer points of professionalism, whatever the profession he represents. The golden thread that runs through the fabric of diplomacy is professionalism, pure and simple. The role of professionalism plays in national and international diplomacy cannot be obscured and still less denied. Adroit diplomacy should be considered the bedrock which ensures and stabilizes peace and harmony in the world. Lamentably, our country has paid a heavy toll for departing from well-established norms and principles due to lack of professionalism, especially in the diplomatic arena during the recent past. We are now in the process of surmounting that sorry state of affairs. If a person is not endowed with the requisite qualities of a particular profession he represents, he may behave like a bull in a Chinaware shop. A true professional should never take anything for granted, which mental condition arises from a sense of complacency. The efficacy of professionalism looms very large even in warfares. The unique example of it was the Six-Day War fought by Israel against Arab in 1967. The one-night General Moshe Dayan, Minister of Defense, celebrating Israel's victory, said that he won the war because of strict professionalism he brought into play. Laxity in the adherence to professionalism could cause enormous and incalculable harm, as was proved in Hitler's case. His eccentric habit of getting up late in the morning was exploited by the enemies who knew that German forces would not be able to counterattack forthwith due to non-availability of precise orders from the commanders. It is also pertinent to remind that Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom who fought the World War II, displayed a remarkable professionalism which enabled him to galvanize the British nation to have the mindset to face the war. At present, diversification of professions in its wake has made specialization a must. Today, major profession has a cluster of semi-skilled professionals. For example, the medical profession has its offshoots such as nursing, technicians, laboratory analysts, and therapists, etc., which have become an integral part of the main profession. This phenomenon necessitates the conducting of research in all fields, as every innovation, minor it may be, would still contribute its share to the upliftment of the society. By looking at the subject to be dealt with in this conference, I am all the more pleased as they cover a wide range of diversified fields such as medicine, law, engineering, computing, education, political science, as well as current political issues, diplomacy, defense, maritime security, terrorism, nuclear terrorism and weapons, international trade, national reconciliation and conflict resolution, power and energy, to mention a few. I should like to avail myself this opportunity to wish all of you greater success and many more accomplishment in all your future endeavors. Thank you very much.